In today's video, I'm on a journey. I've gone from looking like this at around 230 pounds to looking like this at around 205 pounds. I'm gonna show you exactly why you need high carb refeed days. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, and today's topic is going to be around the idea of high carbohydrate refeed days. I'm going to explain why we use them, what are the benefits, and I'm also going to give you some examples on how you can incorporate them to make sure you're working towards your fat loss goal. So first, let's talk about the idea of what a carbohydrate refeed is. Now, when we are going through a process of losing body fat, we are inevitably going to reduce calories, right? Those calories that we reduce are often going to come in the form of carbohydrates. Well, this can become problematic over time. Because carbohydrates are so impactful for our training performance, our muscle fullness, it can affect things like our digestion. It can also affect things like our psychology, because I'm dealing with this now. The leaner I get, the more I notice when my muscles are flat. What is a flat muscle? Think about your muscles like balloons, right? If you're inflating a balloon, it gets bigger and bigger. Carbohydrates pull water into the muscle. That water fills up those muscle cells and it actually makes them look bigger. This is a full muscle. You'll notice better performance in the gym. And for those of us that are really bros, you'll mostly notice a better look, a better hardness to your physique. So when we add in these temporary high carbohydrate days, weeks, what it does is it restores that muscle glycogen. It restores that performance. It's also beneficial in preventing muscle breakdown. Also very beneficial for performance in the gym that allows us to keep muscle during a fat loss phase. So how do you use a high carbohydrate refeed day? So if you hadn't watched the video, I did a full day of eating the other day on my low carb dieting. I'll put that video on the screen here. I'll link it below. But the idea behind a low carb day for me is that I'm in a deficit. That means I'm using my cardio, I'm using my nutrition to create a caloric deficit. For me, I like to keep my protein pretty stable. If you need a number to kind of shoot for, if you haven't used our macro calculator, it's a full calculator that gives you calories, it gives you meals, gives you all that. But the idea there is just to give you a number. But if you don't really want to do that, just think of your goal weight as around the number that you want to hit for protein. My goal weight right now is around 200. So I'm making sure I get 200 grams of protein. That is a perfect amount for muscle anabolism. It helps with satiety. And if you break those meals up throughout the day, you're going to get the maximum benefit to muscle protein synthesis, or your body's ability to store and build muscle. Okay. So we keep protein stable. What about fats? Fats are very responsible for a lot of things in our body, including the entire cascade of hormones. So I don't like to go below a threshold of fats. For me right now, that's between 50 and 60 grams. So what does that leave? That leaves carbohydrates. So I'm someone who really believes high carbohydrate dieting is going to give you the best benefit for a physique competitor. Why? Well, because I've been doing this for over a decade. I have clients on the Olympia stage, and I've tried it all ways. So let's talk about how we manipulate those carbohydrates. In my low carb video from the other day, I was on 200 grams of carbs. And before you say, well, that sounds like a lot of carbs, understand that I walk around typically at 230 pounds. So when my carbohydrates get this low, below my body weight, I'm around 205 to 208 pounds right now. That's when I start to require refeeds, meaning I'm burning through the refeeds I'm burning through my carbohydrates pretty rapidly. Why? I train very hard. Okay, 5 days per week, I'm going in the gym. I'll put some footage in here and you'll see my top sets are pretty intense. I'm typically doing a couple warm-up sets and a really hard set to finish it, either a drop set, a double drop set. You burn through carbohydrates based on the intensity of your training. Now my cardio is just walking. So you're not gonna burn a lot of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are used based on the intensity of the exercise. There's nothing more intense than an all-out set to failure bodybuilding style training. So I'm burning through that glycogen. So after a few days of that, now my favorite approach right now is 5 consecutive low days at those 200 carbs. Then I'm gonna show you my full day of eating in this video, where I'm gonna go through my foods and show you that throughout the day, I brought my carbohydrates up to 400. I kept my protein at 200. I kept my fat at 60. And I really did no cardio on these days. What it does is it actually speeds up my digestion. Oddly, I get hungrier on the higher carb days, which you would expect you'd be hungrier on the lower carb days, but it really does ramp up the digestion. It ramps up the hunger a little bit. Nothing that's too bad, but the benefit there is that I just start to feel more energetic. I start to have more NEAT. I was more active this weekend. It just happens to coincide with the weekends for me, which is when I'm typically either at a bodybuilding show with my clients or I'm spending time with my kids like this weekend, and we're just go, go, go. So The real benefit for me was today, man, I felt great in the gym. I was really pushing weights. Towards the end of last week, I was starting to feel run down. Those 2 back-to-back days with 400 carbohydrates really allow me to kind of enjoy the process, enjoy the physique, get to see myself today looking a little bit leaner. The video you saw at the beginning of the intro, that was literally today. Okay, guys? So what does it help with? Other than the benefit of muscle glycogen, it helps with the psychology, okay? The thing I struggle with at the end of these dieting phases where I'm already past the point of looking lean, right? I'm at the point now where I'm pushing the envelope on just how shredded I can get. My goal right now is to get as shredded as possible over this next month. So this refeed is going to help restore a little bit of that psychology. I get to see my muscles filled out. I get to be reminded that I am a good athlete, and you get to just feel good for a couple days and your energy gets ramped back up. Now, after you do that for a couple days, the goal there kind of is maintenance calories for me. So yesterday was a good day of eating for me. I was able to fit in some foods, fit in some eggs, right? I haven't been having a lot of eggs because my fats are kind of limited. I also had some treats for myself. The carbohydrates that you use, whatever they are, can be something you enjoy. I actually had a couple Pop-Tarts. I had some rice cakes. I like to use carbohydrates that are low in fat. Why? Well, because I like to get most of my carbs from carb sources, right? So I'll use things like rice, potatoes. Pop-Tarts just happen to be like very macro friendly. They also happen to digest very well for me. I'll also use things like pasta, various sources. I've even used baked Lays before. You know, they have kind of low fat, but I like to get some fruit. I'll always use like bananas and things like cantaloupe and watermelon and those things because there are some benefits to carbohydrates that come from fruit. Talking about micronutrients, talking about a little bit of fiber, but really the value in a refeed day is a reprieve from this grind. Okay, guys, understand that our bodies can be pushed. Our mind can be pushed. But if you don't give yourself a reprieve, eventually the body and the mind will push back to a degree where it might take you a couple weeks to recover. As is, I feel great today. And I'm excited to see the progress this week. So use these high carbohydrate refeed days. Check out the full day of eating that I'm showing you guys here. Get some ideas. Go use our macro calculator. And if you need some motivation, guys, our 90-day transformation challenge is going to kick off in July. And I can't wait. Wait till you see the results of some of these people. Maybe I'm putting them on the screen here. But our champions really brought it. So I'm excited for the one in July. All right, guys. Have your refeeds. Keep your progress going. Be a great athlete and have a great week. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.